Now, how do you get a fully grown man to give you access to get a swab from his mouth? Now, how do you force somebody to kind of stick a cotton bud in their mouth and take their DNA? And this is what he told me, that we will force it from you. Assalamu alaikum, my name is Shan. I'm from Oldham. I run a fundraising platform called Give Bright, and this is my story of how I was stopped at Manchester Airport going back 6th of September 2020. I was stopped at immigration, and the stop was what is known as Schedule 7. I was approached by officers who identified themselves just by numbers. Once they took me, we maybe walked for about 5 minutes, put me into a van, 2 officers at the front and 1 in the back with myself, and thereafter they sat down and they started to ask me questions regarding my travel. But soon after, it wasn't about the travel, it was more about interrogating me. And one of the questions that stands out to me is they asked me this one thing: what does the Khilafah mean to you? So, stopping me from my travels to ask me such a question, I don't know what answer I could give them, because we're born and bred in the UK, and questions like this don't come to mind to us. We don't think about these things. And they asked me a very funny question they asked me. He asked me, do you see Britain as a savior in Muslim lands? And that stuck by me, because what answer do you give as a humanitarian? And I said to him, my response was, any country going in and using force, invasion, it means as a humanitarian there's more widows, there's more orphans, there's more poverty, there's more work to be done. He asked me regarding 7/7, he asked me about the Manchester Arena bombings. What answer do they want from a normal human? Asking questions like that kind of victimizes us in such a way, and then alienates us as well. When I was stopped December 2020, Christmas Eve, they took my laptop and they took my phone. Both of these devices are my work laptop and work phone. I told them that this is my work phone and my work laptop. Now, if I'm telling the officers that you can't take information that's private and confidential, and they still do so, then I ask myself, what rights do we really have? And then again, I went in December. I went to Pakistan. I went to Pakistan because my brother got married. So Christmas Eve, landed at Manchester Airport. This time round, I already had my phone ready to go to a friend of mine. I told him, don't pick me up. I think they're waiting for me. It's just the way the setting is. You get to know that that's it, they'll wait for you. This time round, it was 2 officers. They've told me that you need to come with us. Once again, into the small room. And this room is very eerie. And this is no kind of, this is the settings like a movie. Chairs bolted to the ground, desks bolted to the ground, and because you can't maneuver, it's not like, the settings such that you kind of feel compelled and intimidated. That's exactly what it is. They'll ask you for your DNA, your fingerprints, and the general mugshot. So the officer was reading. Within this stop, he asked me the same questions: who I am, which is a stupid question within itself. You've got my passport, you've got my driver's license, you can identify who I am. That's one. Number 2, he was reading from his list or his script, and one of the things was, or the condition was, that I need to give my consent to give my DNA, to give my fingerprints. So this is where I was kind of startled, and I said to him, if you need my consent, then that means it's voluntary. I don't need to give you anything then. So he says that, no, but you have to give it. So, for the Muslim community, I then asked him this one question, obviously in English, but is it fard or is it nafil? Which one is it? Is it mandatory for me to give you my fingerprint and DNA, which I've already done so back in September, now we're in December, or do I have the right to say, no, I don't want to give you my DNA? He said to me that if you don't give me your DNA or fingerprints, we will arrest you and they'll take me to the nearest police station and they will force my DNA from me. And I want you to picture this. They take a swab from your mouth, your inner cheek. Now, how do you get a fully grown man to give you access to get a swab from his mouth? Now, these are grown men. What are they going to do now? I'll leave that to your imagination. How do you force somebody to kind of stick a cotton bud in their mouth and take their DNA? And this is what he told me, that we will force it from you. This time round, his superintendent came in the room. He identified himself. I'm the superintendent. It's okay, Mr. Shan, we've identified you. Identified me how? I says, one of the officers recognizes you. My passport wasn't enough. My driver's license wasn't enough, which I, government issued. But an officer has seen me. Many people in the charity sector that I work with, they said to me, don't talk, don't make this public. So my first question is why? We've all said the kalima la ilaha illallah. We all know the kind of things that are attached to this. We all want to hear stories in the dead of the night where the boys have got together and we're talking about Sahaba and what they accomplished. We want to talk about Salahuddin. We want to talk about Khalid bin Walid. Yet we can't speak. So many people have gone through this ordeal, but I've kept silent. And many people in the charity sector don't want to speak up. Why? The question is why? And a lot of the responses I've received from the charity sector is like, Shan, nothing will change. Then if that's the mindset, then I say to you humanitarians and you charity workers, especially to that sector, then stop raising funds. You're never going to eradicate poverty. You're never going to change the lives of people that are less fortunate. Because of that mindset we applied in the charity sector, then we shouldn't even be in that sector to begin with. We're doing this so that we can leave something for our children. And today we don't speak up. What do you leave for your children? That's something to think about. They'll have no rights. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, how long are you going to put up with this kind of treatment? And the longer you put with it and you don't complain, they don't cry what's to come after this. Today we read stories of other countries and how they treated. We're the story of tomorrow. And I will say to you, and I'll say on camera, we wholeheartedly support Cage. Cage.ngo is where we all need to be going, because if you're not stopped today, 100% tomorrow you're going to be stopped, and only then you're going to need the help of Cage. So I urge our brothers and sisters, especially in the UK, to don't downplay this law and do everything they can to support the work that's going on behind the scenes. And the question is, if you still want to feel that it's hot to support Cage, that's the kind of terminology that's used on the street, then continue doing what you're doing, continue living in the bubble that we're living in. And the truth is, sometimes you don't wake up until you don't get a slap, and that's how the cookie crumbles.